Right, so the curse from Cain in the second part. Now I'm going to be speaking on historic biblical times, but even though this is knowledge that comes from the past, I'm going to relate it to you and show you how it still transpires today in society, in different secret orders, Masonic societies, Federal Bureau of Investigation, etc. And so remember, the Canaanites was related to Canaan, the man and the land. A Canaan is what causes murder. Cain was who? The first ritual murderer of his own brother. And that's where that survives in Freemasonry, where if you violate your brother or your brotherhood, you suffer a ritual murder by way of pain of death. Because that's what Cain did to Abel. Remember in the story, God gave up the land to Cain and he gave the lamb skin to Abel. But what happened? Cain wanted to stand on the land and kick Abel off. And Abel said, wait, you got all my lambskin that God gave us. And so an argument ensued and Cain slayed his own brother. Like Osiris was slayed by Set. Like Nimrod was slayed by Shem. Same concept, same story. So what happens is, in a brotherhood, it's a crutch. You're your brother's keeper. That's why Cain is the phonetic for cane, a walking stick, because that's your crutch. And so today, Masons will tell you, they'll violate their aunties, uncles, sisters, and cousins by way to save their own brothers in their brotherhood. This is why you have judges giving out time or not giving out time, so on and so forth. That concept of that brotherhood by pain of death came from the man Cain. And so the Canaanites, even though they built great civilizations and had a very illustrious priesthood, they also had a dark side to them. And so Cain, we're talking about on the white side, the Caucasian Cain, his uncle Canaan, when he died, he left charges to his sons. And these charges are still upheld by white folks today against black folks. So no, don't take this as a campaign to go out and hate all white folks. Just listen, as I told you in the first video. Keep your emotions away. Canaan, he died with an evil, sadistic plan. He left a will. The will of Canaan was this. The charges said that never ever speak the truth. Right? And you see that today amongst the blacks. They don't tell you that of the illustrious history of a lot of black people in society, the ones that built pyramids, the ones who built the car before the Model T Ford and Henry Ford. They don't tell you about blacks and their contributions to science, because they're keeping that will of Canaan, the charge, never tell the truth. Always hate your masters, because remember, Nimrod and the black brothers were the masters of the white Caucasian Canaanites. So it's still going on today. Now, this is very in-depth in government, because in science, in mathematics, you have a branch of knowledge called numerology. And so the government used this well in accord with astronomy. The famous numbers you'll find is 3, 6, and 9, or 13, because Christ had 12 disciples, and him being the one was the 13th. So 13 is always a very, very important number. It was a very, very important number historically to Canaanites as well. If you don't believe it, pay attention. They govern your life by numbers, numerology, and the stars. The Federal Reserve Act. That act was where economically you had one central bank that took over the money supply. So don't talk about freedom, because the money supply is taken over by one central bank. And look up the date when the Federal Reserve Act was enacted. You'll see it was December the 23rd of the year 1913, right? 3, 6, and 9. A State of the Union address for Obama was done on the 6th, 2016. 3 years later, Trump, he gives his State of the Union on the 19th. So this ain't a coincidence. It's happening because it's made to happen. Then take a look at the IRS, which is a private organization. They have their amendment, which was enacted, which is the 16th Amendment. Why is it the 16th Amendment? And that's where they basically took control of the money and you reporting your income. And if you do not report your income, you suffer civil asset forfeiture or civil forfeiture of your assets. Basically, they'll take your property away. Remember, within the Constitution, that used to be prohibited. Citizens didn't have to suffer that. So all these things are happening for a reason. And so the ancient historic book that's written is called the Talmud, right? And in the Talmud, it talks about the curse from Canaan. It talks about the charges that Canaan would leave. And if you read this holy book, remember, this is a holy book of many major so-called Jewish families who own and control the real estate in all the major metropolitan areas that people love. Their holy book. Read some of the things that's written in it. It says that you can murder as long as you pin it and blame it on someone else. Murder is okay. It says that fornication or sex with a young woman is okay. And so in it, it talks about the will of Canaan, of the Canaanites, and it said that they should never ever tell the truth. Love, robbery. And that's the same thing that goes on. You see, so much of our history is robbed. This curse is going on today, but people can't see it. And so much of